It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brouhaha. Dale McKee sitting over here looking at me, Marshall Wood. Good to see you, Dale.
Boy, you look, and you're looking good today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to look this good.
Well, y'all need. I mean, you're neat, and your hair's done well,
Yeah.
and, and your beard's. I mean, you're just you're okay.
Well, I appreciate your
I had
effort.
to stop myself. Had to stop myself.
Yeah, I appreciate your effort. That was a valiant effort to make me sound halfway decent, but we all know better. But anyway, thanks for trying.
Yeah, well.
That's why I'm on radio and not TV.
Yeah, that's why we both on radio.
Well, I tell you what, this basketball business is wide open, isn't it?
It is, and Mississippi's had a little success,
Yeah, I mean, I was reading your column and looking at that, and Lady Rebels.
They made me stay up to 11 o'clock last night. I don't like them games on the Pacific Coast.
Man, I
Stanford, that's a long way from Waynesboro.
Well, I tell you what, that's a big deal.
It was. Yeah,
big deal.
That's their first. It's their first win ever against the number one seed in the NCAA tournament. It's I was just reading up on it. They have 11. This is their 11th time in the Sweet 16, and so of course under Van Chancellor, it seemed like we were going every year,
Yeah.
because he was such a great coach up there, and of course the other teams in Mississippi, unfortunately, are not playing anymore. Except there's a couple of junior colleges that are playing. Meridian Junior College men are playing in Hutchinson, Kansas, and the Jones College women are playing in Lubbock, Texas, and so those are in national tournaments. So we still got a little basketball going on in Mississippi.
Yeah, we do. I was proud of my Golden Eagles this year. They had a good run. But they're done now. They're done now. So I don't know. Baseball's going on. I see the Rebels kind of took it on the chin up there against the Commodores, did they not?
Listen, let me just tell you something. We're considered a baseball state,
Yeah.
But basketball evidently is coming on pretty strong because Southern Miss lost 2 or 3 at Texas State. Mississippi State lost 3 straight at Kentucky, and they were outscored like 35-11, and Ole Miss was outscored 27-4 in 3 games. Lost them all. So what I'm saying, I don't know. I don't know if we are the mecca of baseball like we've claimed the last couple of years. We got a long way to go.
Yeah. Well,
but
remember how the Rebels started.
It's how you finish.
That's all about finishing.
Yeah.
I tell you what, how good of an athlete or a football player do you have to be on the night of the draft, allegedly smoking marijuana in some kind of headset like Larry B. Tunsil was doing, and now he's wound up. Listen to this. He's got him the highest paid offensive tackle contract in NFL history for $75 million for 3 years by the Texans. You got to be pretty good to get away with that kind of stuff, don't you?
Well, everybody, he's probably telling everybody, well, everybody makes one mistake. one mistake. But that one mistake he made got a lot of people fired.
It sure did. It didn't hurt him any, but it hurt everybody.
Other people fired.
You look at that $75 million contract, if I'm not mistaken, he just finished up a $60 million one. So, I mean, that young man's done pretty good for himself. Yeah, but anyway, like you said, didn't hurt him any, but it sure did have an effect on a lot of lives.
Well, a lot of people lost their job over him doing that.
And you know what it did? It created, in my opinion, that's what really created the transfer portal. When they started letting Van Jefferson and Shea Patterson transfer and play immediately, I said, this is going to change the game, boys, and it has. I'd never heard of the transfer portal until then.
Well, they used to have a rule that if your school was on probation, you could transfer. And so, but I don't know in that case, but But you're right. The door was open at that time, and so it's just one of those things that sometimes what somebody does, it's just like if they make rules at the school or anywhere in a town, there are people that there's one or two people that create those rules for everybody else.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that's the same way in this case, is that, hey, y'all can go now. It's a mess down there, in Oxford, Mississippi this year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Dale, what about our guest tonight? What we're looking at? Who we got?
I don't know anything about
Don't
a
know
guest.
anything about a
guest.
guest?
No.
Okay, well.
Let's get one of them mystery guests.
A mystery guest?
Yeah.
We can do that.
Okay, I'll call him right now.
Okay.
And see what he can do for us.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to be back with Dale's
Hold your breath till we come back.
mystery guest right after the break. We'll see you in just a minute, folks.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show. Taylor Curet from Channel 7 in Laurel and Hattiesburg, WDAM TV. And we're glad to have you because you're our local sportscaster. And so everybody's, anxious to ask you some questions about your business and some personal questions and things like that. Tell us about your upbringing, I guess, and just tell us where you kind of from and how you got into this neck of the woods and all that.
Yes, sir. Well, Dale, thanks first off for having me on. Let's see, I've been in Hattiesburg now working for WDAM. 6 years I've been here now. And I originally came from LSU. I graduated in journalism from LSU in 2016, and then I just made my way here, and I've been here ever since. But I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and just my dad was always got us interested in sports early on. My grandfather actually was a newspaper reporter his whole life. That was his occupation. He was a news reporter. So I sort of had the journalism in my blood, in my background. So it was kind of something that I always thought about wanting to get into. And then just the love of sports kind of came naturally, just growing up around it. And as soon as I went to school at LSU, that was when I studied from the get-go. So I always kind of knew I wanted to get into that. And then I didn't know a whole lot about Hattiesburg or the Pine Belt or any part of Mississippi until I came over here in 2016. And now I feel like I know all these little towns from Waynesboro to, Moselle. And so I've learned a lot. And it's been a great experience for me because the people in this area of the country, you can tell they really care about high school sports, and they love obviously they love their football and baseball, and it's just a great. If you're into sports, this is the perfect part of the country to be.
Yes, what is your favorite sport?
Well, I tell you, growing up, I was a smaller guy, so I never played football. I would grow up, we played baseball, we played a little bit of basketball. Those would be the two growing up that I loved. And then, obviously, as I've gotten into the career, football and baseball are the most fun to cover as a journalist, because obviously in this area, that's people's bread and butter. It's either football or right behind it is baseball as the number 2 sport, and basketball has been great to cover as well. But I would say people around here, and y'all can probably speak to it, football is the king, and then in the spring, baseball is pretty much the king. So I think those two sports would be the most fun that I like to cover.
Well, talking about that a little bit, how do y'all decide, like on Friday nights? Let's just take football for instance. How do y'all decide on Friday night where you go, and do y'all share with other TV stations, and they share with you? How does all that work?
So Friday nights is that's like that's kind of what we get. The whole year is centered around that. That's like the Super Bowl. The Friday nights is the most important part of the year for us because we do a 15-minute show, highlight show, and we try to get as many schools as we can in the area. I mean, we cover all the way up from Waynesboro to all the way down to Poplarville. We cover a wide range of, we cover a lot of different schools. So yes, we do get some help from some of the stations, up north, WLBT, or down south, WLOX. But we have it's a full team effort where we send out 7 or 8 different reporters to go shoot, around the Pine Belt. We'll send folks up to Waynesboro. We'll send them over to, Jasper County, Jones County, all over. And the goal is to try to get as many schools as possible and highlight them on our show. And a lot of times we're dictating, if a team is winning, obviously they're going to get they're going to get probably the number one spot at the first highlight in the show. We certainly cover the big games like Hattiesburg, Laurel. Those are always top of the show. But we try to spread the love. In other words, we definitely try to make it out to the smaller schools as well. And a lot of the times the smaller schools are the ones that are more successful. Bay Springs being one that just came off a state championship, and Taylorsville always has great teams. So we try to spread the love as much as we can.
Well, listen, when you were at LSU, did you kind of go out on, work for a station, or something down there, off the campus that you could get this experience? And how did you really get your job, I guess, at TV7? Did you have to apply for it? Did they call you, or is it one of those job,
right?
I guess job places where they go and they got a bunch of TV stations there and, interviewing people? And do y'all sign like contracts to stay so long?
Right. Yeah, well, I'll just answer the first part of your question. LSU in that area, Baton Rouge, was great for me because, for one, the school itself, we had a kind of a student-run TV station where we could practice as much as we wanted, reporting and anchoring and getting our feet wet. And the other thing that was great is there was a local station, WAFB, in town that I interned at when I was in college, and they would send me out to high school football games, So I got to learn what the Friday nights are like, Friday night football really early, and that was a great experience just to be around, Baton Rouge, similar, South Louisiana, similar to South Mississippi, where they care about football on Fridays and everything. So that was great for me. And then when I graduated in 2016, I just sort of was looking around. You just send out what they call a resume reel, which is like a highlight tape of all your work. You just send them out to different stations. And there was a couple different stations I talked to before I landed on WDAM. A couple of the stations wanted me as a news reporter, but I was kind of holding out because I knew I wanted to get into sports. And then a job came up for WDAM. It just happened to be an open position. They were looking to hire a second sports reporter, and I came, drove all the way to Moselle. The station's kind of out in the sticks, and I didn't really know where I was going, but it was a great. It just felt like the right fit, and it's turned out to be a great fit. You know, I've loved every minute of it. So,
Well, you
been here now 6 years. So.
Well, you seem like that you like it on the air as far as your compassion for it and trying to keep up with things. And like you said, you're learning the area. I don't know if he'll stay with us 25 years like Mitch Williams, but
Right.
It is. I mean, people really get to know you even though they've never met you because they see you there all the time. Do you get that
Right.
a lot? You know,
Yeah.
and everything.
It's funny. And people are all very nice whenever I see them. But it's funny though, you do get that where someone will see you out at a football game or something, and they'll yell at me, "Hey Taylor," like they know me, even though we haven't met before. But I think because maybe they've seen me on their TV screen a number of times, they feel like they kind of know me. So that's nice though. I like when people. I get to interact with people, and everyone's been great, in this area. Everyone's, hospitable and nice, and it's been great. So
I want to kind of follow this employment career type path that we're kind of talking on right now. And I want to ask you to share with us any advice that you would give some young, aspiring sports journalists or broadcasters. What advice would you give to a young person today that's considering going into the field that you've chosen?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I would say, for one, you gotta really love it because it turns into a lifestyle in the sense that it kind of takes over. It takes time. You're spending your weekends, you're spending your Friday nights, you're spending a majority of your time covering sports, so it takes a little bit out of maybe the social life that you might want. But if you love it and you want to be involved in it, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. The other thing I would say is when you're first getting out, there's going to be a lot of things, you didn't know about the business that you learn quickly, whether that be, learning how to edit video or shoot video or learning, how to go on TV and certain things might go haywire, technical issues might happen, and you have to kind of be quick on your feet and figure out, how do I handle a certain situation live on TV? But I would say that the biggest thing is just don't be afraid to ask questions because, no question is a dumb question. When I was first starting out, the only way to really learn is to go out and make mistakes and go out and, because you're not going to be, Tom Brokaw, right off the bat where you just are,
Right.
You know exactly what you're doing. It takes a lot of mistakes and failing to kind of become better and learn what you're doing. So
Now you've probably, this is going to kind of follow up question here, and that you may have alluded to some of this already. But what is the most difficult thing now that about your job? And we talk about difficult, you can interpret that a couple of ways. I'm just going to leave that difficulty open to your interpretation. What would be the most difficult thing about your job that you find?
That's a good question too. I would think the most difficult is just sort of, managing your time and trying to the hardest nights are when we're trying to get highlights or scores on TV at the last second.
Right.
When it's 10:15 and you got to be on at 10:16. Just learning how to get all that stuff on in a timely manner, because a lot of the times it's just you. You're not only the sports anchor, but you're the sports producer, and it's you putting in all that information a lot of times you don't have a second person to help. So I think it's just sort of learning how to deal with that kind of stress and kind of stay calm and collected at the same time, you know.
It's funny, staying calm and collected because, something's going to go wrong. I remember the first game I did on the radio here at Wayne County. We had Oak Grove coming to town, and I bought the new system and everything, and we didn't work.
Yeah.
So, everybody's sitting out there listening to static.
That's right.
Listen.
Yeah, and a lot of it is trial and error, and just like when you see, that stuff. I mean, I can't tell you how many things have gone haywire in the middle of a show, but you just kind of have to move past it and just kind of keep the train rolling, So
I'm gonna throw one more question at you, and then I'm gonna shut up for a minute and let that. Now, since you've been in this area. This is a blank topic. I mean, you can go anywhere with this. What around here has made the biggest impression on you?
Well, that's another good question. I must say, I knew that it shouldn't have really surprised me, but I knew that the high school football was, this area of the country, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, there's so much talent in this area. I knew that the high school football would be good, but I was impressed with just the amount of talent that comes out. I mean, you got kids playing in the NFL that grew up around here.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is, and there's not a lot of people here.
There's not a lot of people, and then just learning about just the Walter Paytons and, Brett Favre, Jason Cam, all the people that have come from this sort of South Mississippi. But the other thing that's been very impressive is just covering Southern Miss as long as I have is the fans, the baseball fans in particular that, I went to LSU, so those are some of the best fans in the country.
Yeah.
But when I came to Southern Miss, I was, these folks are just on par, and just as far as the passion, and they're one of the best fan bases in college baseball. I really believe that.
Wow, that's exciting.
And that impressed me just because I didn't know a whole lot about Southern Miss baseball, prior to 2016, prior to coming here. So that was impressive too.
Go ahead, Dale. What you got on your mind?
Well, I don't know if I can ask. What did you say, Taylor? 3 or 4 great questions he asked.
We just need everybody to know who does ask the great questions. It's me. So you know.
This is like Jeopardy. I got 4 today. You didn't get any. Oh no! I just I was thinking, I almost started laughing when you were talking about the 10-15, 10-16. Because I remember I've texted you at 10-20.
Right.
And
sometimes will,
yeah, they'll
even
stick
if you
in
text
there.
me at 10-20, we may get it on there in time.
But I remember a game last year. We were playing Oak Grove again, and the game kept going and going and going and going. And about 10, I don't know. I probably had 20 text messages that night. What's going on in Waynesboro? Because everybody saw that halftime score and they said, "Oh my God, what is happening?" And so I just look at things like that. But I was a newspaper reporter for a long time, and I remember the Friday night deadlines and especially when I was 22 years old, and I can relate to you about your social life. There was no social life. Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays, you were at ball games and stuff. Well, who is your favorite pro team? Or do you have one?
Favorite pro team in
football,
baseball or football?
Football, either one.
Well, I grew up in Jacksonville, so we grew up going to Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, when I was born, the franchise came like a couple years after I was born, so that was kind of fresh for us. But my dad is from Louisiana, so my dad was diehard Archie Manning, diehard New Orleans Saints. So we got a good bit of that growing up. So we were pulling for the Saints a good bit as well. And then when I went to LSU, now that I've been kind of over here, I've definitely become more of a Saints fan. But as far as professional baseball, to be honest with you, we didn't have a team in Jacksonville. A lot of my friends were Atlanta Braves fans just because they were the closest team. But we just sort of followed. My dad was a Yankees fan, so I kind of just followed who was the best players at that time and that sort of thing. But I think college sports we always were a little bit more interested in. College football, college baseball, and all that. So.
Well, listen, I know, I guess it's very good to be able to do a lot of things at the TV station, and I want to compliment you. You seem to handle the news as well as you do the sports. And so I assume at a small station, you have to chip in when you can or how you can or ever what it is. But where do you see yourself in 10 years?
That's another good question.
Oh, he got one. Finally. We've been waiting all night for a good question from Dale.
I couldn't tell you. To be honest with you, I enjoy what I'm doing.
That's not a good
I
answer.
enjoy what I'm doing now. But 10 years is a long ways away. I didn't imagine I would be in at WDAM as long as I've been. But I've enjoyed it, and in 10 years' time, who knows? I could still be doing. I do think I'll be around sports in some way, whether that's in television or some other capacity. But I'm not. I could. That's a good question. You have to check back with me.
Well, I tell you what,
we will in 10 years.
We're gonna check back. Well, listen.
Right.
We're about out of time for our spot, sir, and Dale and I both want to thank you so much for being the part of our community that you are, and taking time to be with us today. We're very grateful for that.
Thank you. Well, it's good talking to you, Marshall and Dale, and we appreciate you guys as well. I know Dale, over the years, just your help that you've given us, as far as covering Wayne County and everything up there. We really appreciate it. So thank y'all. I appreciate y'all having me on. I'm happy to do it anytime.
Yes, sir. Hang on with us just a minute, if you would. But right now, Dale and I are going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be back tonight with the final segment of the Brouhaha right after this break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. What a good interview. We really enjoyed
He was a good Mr. Guest, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah. What was his name again?
Taylor Curet. C-U-R-E-T. I think that's the way you pronounce it.
Okay. I really enjoyed listening to him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He explained a lot about his business that a lot of people may not know about.
How about that Gardner Minshew?
Hey, I like him.
I do too. He signed a new contract.
I did, yeah.
You knew that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Is there anything you don't know about sports? Do you know how much his contract is?
$1 million.
Yeah. Who's it with?
The Colts.
Yes, sir. Good job.
1 year.
Yes, sir.
One
Hey,
done.
I'd go up there for a year for $1 million.
Yeah, and listen, the thing about it, even if you don't play, you get paid.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the NFL. You can be a backup quarterback for 15 years in the NFL and probably throw about 10 passes and still make money.
But you got to go to practice.
Yeah, but they don't let you out on the field.
Well, that's true.
Tom Brady said, "No, you sit over there."
I wonder if I'm too old to get involved in that.
I'd like to have one of them punting jobs.
Yeah.
For somebody like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Punt
Well,
about once or twice a game.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, fake it every now and then.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you one of my interesting. I don't really quite know. I'm not hating now, but I mean, Fairleigh Dickinson. Really, I mean, there's just something about that name, Fairleigh Dickinson. I mean, are you Fairleigh Dickinson? Or are you wholeheartedly Dickinson, or
I think that was the person's name, wasn't it?
maybe it was. I don't know. Fairleigh Dickinson, but they're the Knights. They're a basketball team.
They are.
They are.
Now,
And
do you know the true story about them?
I don't know if I know. No, sir. That's
Finished.
Come on.
They finished second in their conference.
This year.
Yeah, but they got an NCAA invite because the first team couldn't go because they hadn't been a Division I team long enough.
Wow.
So
Well, Fairleigh Dickinson knows the way. They've been to the tournament 85, 88, 98, 2005, 2016, 2019, and due to the misfortune of the one that won their conference,
yeah,
they're back again for 2023.
well, they probably won a conference all those years.
Man, they were one and done. They lost, in 85 they were out. 88 they were out. 98 they were out. 2005 out after one. 2016 after one. In 19 they beat Prairie View A&M and then lost to Gonzaga with the number 1 seed. And then this year they beat Texas Southern and they beat the number 1 seed, Purdue. How about that?
Pretty.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they've been put out by Florida Atlantic.
They were last night.
Yeah, so, but Fairleigh Dickinson, that's his name. Now, what did you say about where that name came from?
I don't know. Maybe it's somebody's name.
Okay.
Why don't we look at that and tell people next show? Because everybody's probably looking it up right now.
Right now,
as
Fairleigh
we speak.
Dickinson. I just think that's an
J-Mar may call us in a
He
minute.
may do that. I hope he does. But anyway, Fairleigh Dickinson, that's my basketball team right there. I mean,
Really?
Yeah, I like that name.
Okay.
Fairleigh.
Well, right now, I got all my eggs on the Ole Miss Lady Rebels
Is that right?
because I think they're the only ones still standing.
Yeah.
I just got to go with them. State played a great game yesterday. That their girls, they only got beat, or Sunday, they only got beat like, it was a close game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think State was actually ahead toward the end there. And I mean, listen, the SEC prepares you.
Oh,
It
man.
don't matter what sport it is,
Yeah.
But I mean, our girls' team, State and Ole Miss, did really well, and of course Southern Miss, tied for the Sun Belt Conference title with a if a regular season, they were the co-champs, and so. We've got that, and Mississippi State men's team really did well in the tournament. I thought they won the first night, and then they lost a 1-point game to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So I think basketball's coming on. And of course Ole Miss got a new basketball coach, boys coach, and so we'll see about that. See if he can turn it around because he's been successful everywhere he went.
Yes, he has.
He went to Texas Tech. He had Texas Tech in the finals in 2019, the NCAA finals, the championship game. And and
He knows the way.
he knows how to get there.
Yeah.
A lot of people in high school football don't know the way to Jackson.
Yeah.
Well, he knows the way, and of course, just the way it is, and everything.
Well, Dale, listen, I think it's about time. I want to thank, we join together in thanking all of our listeners that joined us tonight. We want to remind you that during the week you can just keep up with us on Facebook at the Brouhaha, but all of our shows are archived on our YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. You guessed it. We thank all of our sponsors and we thank our guests tonight. But for now, Dale, it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.